All right, good morning, everybody. This is Aldine with BHX Logistics once again with this daily updates with A&M. Today I'm going to be flying solo. Both Munir and Alan are preoccupied with other tasks today. So without further ado, let's dive into the day and recap how yesterday went for us. So we had 66 available drivers, 51 of which were booked with a 77% fleet utilization rate. Obviously, we want that to be as close to 100 as possible. Anytime we're over 75%, we're on the right track. Ultimate goal is to be 90 plus. Yesterday we had 738 bids. It was a busy day, and 62 booked loads is huge. 8.81 bid win ratio. That means on every bid we placed, we won 8.81 of them. So approximately took 12 bids for every one shipment we booked. Just shows you how hard our dispatch team works and how active they are throughout the day. The average driver pay was 606, which is right around that 6 to 700 mark we often see. All right, code red, we have two drivers that are waiting for more than 6 hours of prime idle time. I remind you again, prime idle time is the time you wait from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. This is sort of the prime time during the day that most loads are booked. So this is what we measure, and we want to keep this number as low as possible. We have two guys with 10 hours coming into the day. One of them is in North Dakota and one of them is in North Carolina. Both of these areas are kind of weird areas where they're not the best, they're not the worst. It's sort of middle area. As you guys can see on the right side here, for the guy in North Carolina, we had 50 bids on him. I mean, it just shows you how much work it takes sometimes to get a guy booked. 50 bids and not a single load. So you guys can understand when we do book a load for a price you don't like, the reason is because we tried 50 times at the higher price with no luck. Onward. Today, we had to recover a shipment due to the driver not being able to cross the border. They rejected the entry into Canada, so we had to send in another driver. Due to the weight of the shipment, we set up an appointment with the towing company and recovery company that could use a forklift and transload the freight. Both the drivers met up at the recovery company, and once the transload was completed, we readjusted the manifest with the recovery driver and delivered the freight. So this is just one of those things that happens in a day that makes the person that is doing operations makes their head spin a little bit. Um, yeah, I don't know what happened and why he wasn't able to cross into the border. I'd have to kind of get more information on that. But yeah, I mean, anytime we have to do this, it's just additional work, it's additional resources. Great jobs to our ops team and our Canada team for handling it like pros. Onward. So driver spotlight is Rauda. This is a 009 vehicle number. We always talk about right now the drivers we're bringing on are 600 vehicle numbers. So you guys can imagine how long Rauda has been with us if her vehicle number is 009. She was the 9th person to ever join BHX Logistics. So one of the drivers that's near and dear to everyone's heart in the company, an absolute amazing human being, an absolute amazing driver, very responsible, very dedicated to the work she does, and overall, I mean, an excellent human being. On this particular driver spotlight, Amina said that Rauda helped us recover the freight after our initial driver got denied access. Oh, this is the one from yesterday. Yeah, looks like it. She also helped us with the transload and provided perfect communication throughout the entire process. 10 out of 10 service. Thank you very much, Rauda. Let's put up some fireworks for you. There they are. All right, Haris, our number one guy, typically the goat of bidding, is on vacation. So new goats are stepping up to challenge the king, the challenge for the throne. And when the king returns, we'll see if he still has access to the crown and access to the throne, or if these young bucks have dethroned him. So Muammar came in with an enormous day yesterday, 26 booked loads, phenomenal job, young man. 10.9 bid win ratio, phenomenal to see. Average driver pay is a bit on the lower end. Just shows that this guy was going after every single thing he could, leaving no crumbs on the table. Vedad came in with a night shift, 13 booked loads, and then Omer, our hybrid man, half broker, half BHX carrier bidder, came in with a very respectable 19 loads himself. Good job, everybody. I appreciate your hard work. I know all of our drivers do as well. Onward, we got best load from yesterday was an Indiana going to Saskatchewan. 1,400 miles for 1,900 almost. $1.34 a mile in today's market is phenomenal. I'm sure whoever got this load is very happy about it. Great job. Next up, the longest load is a 1,700-mile load from Blue Springs, Missouri, going to Cali. We got 1440 on the mileage. Not the best paying load, especially going to California. When I say not the best paying load, I'm saying in general. Given the circumstance in the market, I'm confident this is as high as we could get. If we could get $1 more, we would have. But it just shows nowadays, even to go to Cali, you're not going to get those sweet rates like you used to be able to get. But we keep the show moving. We adjust. We flow. We're like boxers in the ring. Sometimes you're hitting. Sometimes you're covering up and getting hit just to make it through the round. Sometimes you're doing that weird hugging thing that boxers do to stay up. But all of that is part of the fight, and that's how you make it to the end of the 12 rounds. I think it's 12 rounds. I'm more of an MMA guy than boxing, but I think it's 12 rounds. Next up, the lowest RPM. Again, not something we want to celebrate. We share this to be fully transparent with everybody. So Florida is notoriously always been a so-so below average area for loads. We got 775 on 1,100 miles going to Chicago. Honestly, if you're going to get out of Florida, this is the load you want to do it with. So while we are not gonna sit here and justify the price and say this is a good price, I will say this is as good as we can get out of Florida. And when you can get to Chicago where you're almost guaranteed a decent or a good load, it's a win-win, I think. Next up, the highest rate per mile and the shortest load. We got an Iowa to Iowa, 123 miles for 250 bucks. This is probably a load that took a couple of hours. So we're looking at $100 an hour of work. Not too bad. Next up, want to switch to self-dispatch but need advice on rates, locations, and more info, contact our dispatch 24/7 support. Most of our drivers have some sort of a hybrid where half is self yellow dispatch, half is green auto dispatch, half of the states, I mean. So yeah, I mean, self dispatch is a fun option as long as you've got the patience for it. A lot of people kind of fall off because they're not used to having to submit 10 bids to win one load. Listen, guys, that's the nature of it when you want to bid those higher rates. If you don't want to bid as often, simply you can lower the rates or you can leave that bidding process to us. But in any case, our dispatch is available literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we are always available and interested and willing to share whatever knowledge we have that'll help you navigate this market. Onward, yesterday we had 97 total stops. 94 of those were on time. Phenomenal job to the drivers that were on time. It's not always easy to be on time, dealing with traffic, dealing with tight schedules, dealing with delays at the shipper. Remember, guys, communication, communication, communication. If you're going to be late for any reason whatsoever, let us know. If it's something that's not your fault, it will not count against you. If it's something that you could have prevented by leaving earlier, by planning better, it will count against you. Yesterday's numbers were 97% on time and 3 late arrivals. The goal is 98%, so we were almost there. Phenomenal job to the whole team. These kind of things and this kind of performance helps us all retain that premium carrier brand, which helps us all get the best rates we can for our loads that we book for our lovely drivers. Daily quote: I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why that is why I succeed. Often these quotes get attributed to athletes that they didn't really say. I don't know if Michael ever said this, but the principle stands. Um, Listen, failure is a necessary part of growth. I reflect on my journey and our collective journey as a company. Um, in the last 10 years, we have tried and failed and reverted back to, a starting line more times than I can even remember. Um, Failure means that you're pushing yourself into new territories. There are people that almost never fail in life, but that's because they're never pushing themselves beyond the comfort zone. So don't be afraid to fail. Failure in itself is not a bad thing. Failure is literally a sign that you are pushing yourself into new areas. Now, you should learn from your failures. You should make calculated moves. Nobody's obviously advocating just blind, entering new territories and be content and happy with failure. But failure is a sign that you are pushing yourself, challenging yourself, trying new things. Every successful person in life has more failures on their resume than they have wins, right? Even the winningest person, Michael Jordan, played in the NBA for, I don't know, 15 to 20 years, somewhere in that range. He won 6 championships. That means that he failed more times to win a championship than to win it. But that's the GOAT, right? That's considered the greatest basketball player. So, yeah, I love this quote. Moving on. Did you know that BHX completed a load from St. Louis, Missouri to Alaska? Loaded miles was 4,063, completed by our beloved Ibrahim Shilkovic, who recently became a grandfather for the third time, I believe, and his son, Ramiz Shilkovic. This was a fun load. We even got a little gift, a little Alaska license plate back from Ibrahim. I think this was the third time we've gone to Alaska. So that's it, guys. I will conclude there. If I'll actually hang out for 1 more minute. If anyone has any questions or comments, please drop it in the chat. and I will try to attend to them. But yeah, yesterday overall was a good day for us. Loads wise, a lot of loads were booked. Um, I met with somebody who runs a Canadian oversized loads trucking company. Has been in the business for 19 years, and he says this is the fifth time in his time in the business in the industry that the market is doing this downward trend. And, he's hoping that what happens is after the elections, after people know what's happening with the politics and with our economy, businesses are going to become a bit more willing to spend their money. When businesses spend their money, that's when the transportation industry begins to move again. So a lot of people are kind of tensed up right now, waiting to see what happens in the elections. And yeah, I mean, we're gonna do what we need to do to navigate through this. Like I said, nobody is oblivious to the rates. No one is trying to convince our drivers that the rates are good when they're not. Far from that. We understand the reality, and at the end of the day, you can go by some principle and stick to some rates that you have in your head that you feel are fair rates, or you can adjust and stay busy. And unfortunately, when you try to be too firm, too rigid on your rates, and you try to get certain rates that you think you should get, what ends up happening more often is you end up just sitting and waiting for a load and not making enough money. So we're going to continue to do our best to navigate until the industry and the market turns around. To everybody watching, thank you. To our drivers, thank you for your hard work and dedication. We appreciate all that you guys do. Stay